Hello and welcome to the 9th ever episode of the second newest show on the Stat Check Network. It's time for episode 9 of Take All Comers Gettin Squiggy with It. I'm Tyler Bortel and I am joined by my singular illustrious co-host today,
Nicholas Olson Johnson.
And we are here on a surprise flash episode. If you're wondering why it's not Saturday morning, it's because it's Sunday. We realized that our schedules are kind of messy for the next couple of weeks, and we really wanted to bang out this episode to talk about the Squig City GT, which will be the main topic of the show today. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of an emergency episode this morning with just Nick and I, as Lucas is out this weekend. The next couple of Saturdays are all going to be kind of messy, so to anticipate more nonsense scheduling, we'll try to give you a little bit more of a heads up next time so you can catch us live and ask your listener questions. But at the end of the day, we're here. There's 40K to talk about, and we're very excited about it. But before we jump into any of that stuff, I got to check in with the singular boy. How we doing today, Nick?
Doing well, dude. You know, bit tired. As I mentioned in the past, April and May are my biggest months at work, and we are in the thick of it right now. But I've had a 3-day weekend this week, so enjoyed like the past 2 days just chilling. Gonna continue doing so, and excited for I guess a month of work and 40K coming up. Dude. Gonna be exciting. Yeah,
sweet.
And yeah, excited to hear about this GT. I know we talked about it a little bit, but it's always fun to break it down live on air.
Absolutely.
How about you? How are you doing?
Good stuff, man. I'm doing fantastic. I feel like I have at a certain point, I'm the problem, not the game, where like I am too excited about too many things right now. I'm loving GSC right now. I'm loving Endless Swarm right now. I'm loving Assimilation Swarm right now. I'm loving Invasion Fleet right now. I'm loving Necrons right now. Like there's just too much Warhammer that I want to play that I just can't. So we're honing in a little bit. We did, I believe, if we've announced by now, I can say this in public, that the two of us and Lucas are excited to be attending the was it the DreamHack event in is that what it's called? Later this month, early June. Yeah, it's a video games expo mostly. That they've invited a couple of big organizations too. We'll be going there repping Team USA, so we just got our travel plans figured out for that. Super excited for that one. We got Gongai coming up. Man, oh man, do I love Gongai events. Matt Wood and his crew. What is it? The PAC? PPM. There we go.
Events.
Because it's Matt, Perry, and
Patrick Perry and Matt.
Patrick. There we go. Patrick Perry and Matt. They're running awesome events out in Forest Grove. I would say to get tickets, but they're super sold out and their wait list is already present. Just praying that we can get that bigger venue for those guys because it's awesome. So crazy easy month ahead of us. Very much looking forward to it. We're going to be at the beach again. We'll probably do another beach episode out there. That was a lot of fun last time. Maybe it'll make a little more sense. But yeah, so it's a great time to be alive and playing Warhammer. If you follow the world of hip-hop at all, this has also been a crazy week for that world. So I've been off the charts. I'm having a great time. But yeah, let's jump right on into our main topic today. As I said, we're on a bit of a time crunch, and that is our Squig City GT. This is a grand tournament I attended out in Pendleton, Oregon, of all places, last weekend, April 27th, 28th. This was like 2 days after the slate. Of course, the points dropped. So definitely well past the list and rules cutoffs. So we're not going to be using it. This will be old meta stuff. But a lot of the armies that were played in this event are still relevant. And I think it was just a really fun event. So I definitely wanted to break it down a little bit. But yeah, what are the... so we'll start off with sort of the event review here. Some of our highlights here. We rolled this with 77 people. They sold 84 tickets. Only 7 people dropped, which is great. This was held at the Wild Horse Casino and Resort out in Pendleton. Which, for those of y'all who are not from Oregon, or those of you who are from Oregon who probably don't know where that is, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's right on the Columbia, about 3 hours east of Portland. Real middle of nowhere kind of place. It was a bizarre experience. And it is in a casino, like it felt like being an LVO. So like all of the normal casino downsides applied, but like all things considered, pretty solid venue. Like we could have done a lot worse. And with the amount that was going on for the price, I really can't complain too much. I went out with our boys Alex Pena and Steven Trimble, who also did pretty well this weekend. We had a great little time. Yeah. What am I missing? What are the big event things that we usually cover here?
Like about the events?
Yeah. Well, what else goes in the event review section? It's been a minute.
I mean, how was like the venue itself? You know, like table height, like table spacing, you know, totally. Access to food, water, etc.
Yeah, the tables are convention standard tables. They're a little bit on the lower side, which is a bummer. The terrain situation was acceptable. We're all playing on GW layouts, which is great. A couple of the a couple of the train sets were a little bit shakier, but in general, I didn't really have any problems with it. And everyone there was, at this point, is just super in on we know what a GW table is supposed to look like. So when the things don't quite match up, yeah, this is a ruin. It's about this footprint. Cool. It was real pleasant. The event was judged by our boys James Idle and Alex Elmore, which was super great of them. They did a pretty good job at that. Which was crazy because this event, the guy who's running it, I can't remember this guy's name. He has played one game of 40K in his life. Crazy to me. Like, I guess he's mostly an AOS guy, but he was like, I'm just going to throw a major and I'm going to contact a ton of different, like, reasonably medium to big size names in the hobby game to sponsor the event, which was awesome. There's tons of prizes and venue stuff sponsored by by companies, Baron of Dice, Magnet Baron, other barons, I'm sure. I don't know their pack in front of me, but they threw a great event. The prize support was really solid. The trophies were super cool. Oh, I didn't put a picture of that in here. Anyway, spoilers. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. Because it is a casino, the bathroom situation, Tanner, was very much up to par. The toilets were all very heavily reinforced. People were commenting on to support people of all sizes, which I appreciate. Yeah, food options. It was a casino, so we're not like I'm not eating on site. We went to Subway or McDonald's or Mexican food or whatever that was not too far away to keep costs as reasonable as possible. The hand towels. We were staying in a little what do you call it? Not a motel, like a little travel lodge kind of situation, little local place, about 10 minutes from the venue. Their hand towels were very nice, especially for what we were paying for it. It's great. Events in the middle of nowhere are a pain to travel to, but they are really nice on the wallet. So I appreciate that. But yeah, overall, I'd say great venue. I look forward to them. I know they're going to be doing it again, they said. Next year, they're already locked in. Highly recommended if you're anywhere in the region. Just like a really solid quality event. Nothing absolutely, crazy, really pushing the envelope here, but like nailing the fundamentals, really appreciate it. I thought it was a really good time.
Awesome.
Sweet. Well, let's get right into it. With the list that I brought. Nick, you know a thing or two about this list. You wanna run it down top to bottom?
About your list? Yeah. I mean, I think so. This tournament was played before the data slate nerf. Because the tournament happened like the weekend after, like 2 days after. So yeah, they weren't going to have people change their list. So this was played with old Hypercrypt points. So this was kind of like the last hurrah of the mega greedy triple Catan list. Let's go through it. We got Illuminor Xeris leading the charge as your warlord, I presume. We have a bunch of other characters. We have a Plasmancer with a Risen Tyrant. That is the when redeployed or set up on the battlefield, you get the unit full hit rerolls. We have 2 Chronomancers, one of which has Dimensional Sanctum, which allows you to pick up a 4th unit at the end of your opponent's turn. Then we have a Transcendent Catan, a Void Dragon, and a Nightbringer. That rounds out the characters. And we've got 2 squads of 20 Reaper Warriors, 2 solo Locust Destroyers, 1 squad of 3 Canoptic Scarabs, and a Monolith to enable a bunch of shenanigans. So I think this is the exact same list you were playing at Cascade. And one Chronomancer / Heavy Locust away from the list I played at Cascade. So it's the Hypercrypt list we've been grinding for the past few months. And yeah, I'm glad you got to like take it out for one more big tournament. So
yeah,
a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I had no complaints with how this list performed at Cascade, and knowing that this event was going to be running Ritual Scrambler Fields again, I had no complaints with the second Chronomancer. I'll actually have a couple games here where he came in super clutch. Love that guy. The Catan continue to be stupid. You'll hear about it in the games, but yeah, we'll talk a little at the end about how to adapt this list to some of the upcoming changes, but it's a really good list. Nick won a major within 50 or 60 points of it or whatever it is. We really like this list. It does the thing. Really good at Warhammer, as it turns out. Sweet. So round one, I am first paired up. This is where the Ritual Scrambler Fields mission is going to be. We're playing Ritual Scrambler Fields, sweeping engagement, which, you know, that's certainly a mission that a Deep Strike army has to contend with. And I get paired into World Eaters. You want to break down this World Eaters list here, Nick?
Yeah. So round one, World Eaters, we've got Angron, we've got Lord Invocatus, we've got one squad of 10 Jackals, one squad of 3 8-bound, one squad of 6 Exalted 8-bound, 2x3 Exalted 8-bound, 2x2 Spawn, and a Khorne Lord of Skulls. So he's got all the big stuff and very little meat.
Yeah,
how's this
absolutely
going?
This right here was probably like the best start of a weekend that I could ask for. In general, World Eaters are not a particularly tricky matchup for this army because other than Angron, there are a bunch of dudes on foot who want to come punch you in the face, and this army is very good at preventing that from happening. And also we have a lot of the good offensive profiles to deal with them, and their ability to deal with Catan is present as long as you let them charge the Catan with the thing they want to, but that was not necessarily how things ended up going. So we're playing on GW1 here, sweeping engagement. I start my Nightbringer and Void Dragon kind of right next to each other in this bottom middle section here, kind of behind that crate. He starts Angron basically where his tape measure is right now. And sure enough, he goes first and he's like, all right, here we go. And we do some pre-measuring. I get down with the auto 6 advance. Angron can get to like inside the little L there, and then he can charge the Nightbringer by hopping over that thing. And he's going to need a 7-inch charge to do it if he auto advances 6. And I'm like, dude, that's a terrible idea, honestly. Like, you cannot bet Angron on a 7-inch charge. And he's like, well, Angron gets +1 to charge. And I'm like, okay, cool, a 6-inch charge. That's great. You're going to spend your 1 CP to auto advance 6. Are you sure about this? And he's like, the nails, dude, the nails. And fucking full sends it immediately, which mad props. That's absolutely the correct decision from a World Eater's perspective. Sends Angron all the way up, and also I've got a squad of Scarabs. You know how Scarabs go. They line up on the front to go do air raids in turn 1 or something like that. And he hurls Invo across the table at the Scarabs. And everyone else just kind of postures a little bit. No one's doing anything crazy. So Invo charges the Scarabs. One of them blows up, does 2 mortals to him, and then he hacks him in half. Angron hits the 6-inch charge. Good for him. That was awesome. Into the Nightbringer. And then winds all the way back and boom, does 2 wounds to the Nightbringer when it's all said and done.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, it's not really what he was looking for. And then naturally the Nightbringer said, all right, cool. And Angron immediately died. And not only did he die, he exploded. And did the full 6 mortal wounds to Invocatus, who was standing next to him, who then died.
Yeah, that's less funny.
In the process,
I was hoping you would have killed like most of your army, but
no. And he did kill a Locust Destroyer in the process of that explosion, and did 2 wounds to the Void Dragon, who then promptly healed them. Yeah, so the game started by on his turn trading Angron and Invo for 3 Scarabs and a Locust, which was not really ideal. And then Angron never came back.
That's also
it was very sad. Yeah, so that's, I mean, like, let's be real, that's kind of the game. At that point, afterwards, it's a whole bunch of just move blocking with warriors, setting up objectives, scoring points. He went for Assassinate Cleanse, which was a pretty greedy pick. Assassinate's just really hard to get into this army, even if you're killing stuff pretty well. Cleanse is a very reasonable take on this mission, as we talked about in the past.
I don't like it with World Leaders. You have so few units.
Yeah, he was trying to do it with his spawn, but like I just immediately killed all the spawn, which definitely required some reprioritization, but also just like everything dies, right? We shoot things, we stand places. The Lord of Skulls is a really cool and scary shooting threat to the monolith, but its main gun, because he's got it with the Skull Hurler and I think it's the Gorestorm Cannon, is only 18-inch range. So as long as I move block it, as you see, I've got here with the warriors, and the monolith is within 24 and outside of 18, I can shoot him, but he can't shoot me. We rinsed and repeated that a couple times. He got real stuck on trying to kill the warriors in one activation. He didn't realize that he was going to need the full 6 Exalted Squad to do that. He sent in the Lord of Skulls first. Lord of Skulls only killed like 4 or 5 dudes, and then teleport out. Go back to the sky, show up at 3, fire and fade again. Like we just rinsed and repeated that a couple times. There was just not a ton that could happen here, unfortunately. But Blake was a great opponent. He was a great support about the whole situation. We had a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, yeah, this you really can't play down. What is Angron, like 400 points?
I mean, he's also like your biggest buff piece. He gives the entire army chapter master in the fight phase. Yeah,
you can't play down that and come out particularly on top. But yeah, fun game. Was glad that I got this mission out of the way on a matchup that didn't really care about the mission nearly as much. Though I will say, trying to get my warriors finagled in around all of the objectives was very funny. But yeah, that's kind of our round 1 here.
Nice,
sweet.
Well, it sounds like a explosive turn 1, round 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Who have we got on round 2? I think this should be, we're going to go from all of the punches to all the guns.
Yeah. What's the round 2 mission? Do you remember?
Yeah, the round 2 mission is going to be Hammer and Anvil. I think it's Hammer and Anvil, 6 objectives, take and hold.
Okay. Yeah, so we played this mission as the finals at Cascade. A mission that, like, surprisingly, depending on the layout, can be hard to get some of those points in the middle, but also, like, people just start slamming primary as the game goes on.
Yeah.
All right, so you are up against round 2. Sorry, BCP is being weird. Bortil. A Dark Angels list. This should be exciting. It's called Azrael's Retirement Home. Detachment. Iron Storm Spearhead. All right, significantly less exciting. We've got Azrael as the Warlord. We've got a Tech Marine with Target Augury Web and another Tech Marine with Master of the Machine War. One of those is the aura of Fallback, Advance, and Shoot. One of those is the aura of Lethal Hits. We've got 2x3 Plaz Scepters. We've got a Infiltrator Squad, which should be interesting for Hypercrypt. We got 1 Scout Squad. We have a Ballistus Dreadnought. That's the like las cannon missile launcher Dreadnought. A Ravenwing Dark Shroud. There's the other part of the Dark Angels package. We've got triple Redemptor. Nice. All with, Plasma, of course, and Onslaught Gatling Cannon. A Repulsor Executioner, and a single Vindicator. So he's not playing the Plains version, but he still has all the Redemptors and a few other scattered tanks. So, yeah, tell us about this Iron Storm experience.
Yes, that Repulsor Executioner is terrifying. Mercy's Weakness is a very strong stratagem. Do you know the name of this, the Ignore Mod stratagem that they have?
I don't, but I can look it up. Probably like something like Efficient Machine Spirit or something.
Yeah, they have this shtick where if they themselves are damaged, they can spend a CP to ignore all mods, which is terrifying for Catan. Particularly when like my damage is not great at killing these things from full. Yes, this was real scary. A lot of shooting to do. Oh, you got it. What do we got?
Unbowed Conviction. Yeah, in your command phase, if an Adeptus Astartes unit is below starting strength, Ignores all modifiers to its characteristics and to any roll or tests made for it.
Yikes. So that's real scary. I don't want anything to do with that. We were playing Hammer and Anvil, which is nice. And I kind of look around and I'm like, all right, this is going to be a game that is won and lost in the primary department. And on that front, I was totally right. As long as I can deny his primary for long enough, I'm just going to win. And I'm going to do that while getting tabled, probably. I think my Monolith ends up surviving this game on 1 wound. But yeah, he lines up a whole bunch of shots into my Transcendent and doesn't quite kill it early on, which was a really big deal. But like the problem is that while the guns all do a lot of damage, none of them can really obliterate a warrior squad in one go, because they can't pop Mercy as weakness if I'm at starting strength, and if I'm not at starting strength, it's because he already shot me and then I've teleported to the Monolith. So this was another game with a lot of rinse and repeats off the Chronomancer. While the Catan were honestly just like holding objectives. We're still playing on layout 1. I don't have a top-down picture of this one, so kind of imagining this same table layout out here, essentially. My Nightbringer lived a large portion of the game in the little corner of that ruin where the sort of top objective would be on this table from Hammer and Anvil, just chilling, because I'm scoring points and he's not shooting at me, and that's fine. And the game ends up becoming a whole lot more about outlasting than anything else. You can see on the scorecard here, I straight 60'd primary here, just 15 points every single turn, because he really struggled to get me off of places.
So you're playing Tyranids again.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, I should fix that. But yeah, we both scored a full 40 secondaries. We were both able to be in a lot of places and kill a lot of things. But at the end of the day, there's just nothing in this army that can actually hold an objective. There was one really pivotal point that I think swung this from this is going to be a tight game that I'm going to edge out on points to this is going to be a murder fest, which was where I was kept. One of the big themes for this army is keep the Monolith alive. I've seen a lot of this army has become quite popular, especially in our local meta after we did real well with it at Cascade. A lot of people saw it. They loved it. They've been having a lot of fun with it. But almost every time I walk by a table of someone else playing this list, the Monolith is like in the middle of it. It's in the thick of it. It's like trying to draw firepower and trying to like bully around and take up space. And I don't know about your experience of the list. In my mind, that is almost never the right decision here. My win con is usually keep the Monolith alive for 5 turns. And that we did that. I kept the Monolith alive for 24 of the 25 turns that were played at this event. It's like, how do you use the Monolith? Do you think of it as more of an aggressive piece, or are you with me on this caginess with it?
I mean, I don't like to throw it away early, because of how much synergy it has with that Arisen Tyrant Plasmancer. Because it allows you to yoink it basically to the Monolith. It briefly goes into reserves and gets set back up, resets the full rerolls. And I view those two as like a, combined package. So in a lot of my games, it's like looking for something that's isolated, pouncing on it, killing it. They can try to crack me back if they want to, but they have to like go over my wall of warriors and into the den of Catan to get to my Monolith. But like the Monolith is very tanky. I guess it's kind of similar to Magnus, where it's like remove the like threats that can easily kill this piece, and now the piece gets to roam free. There are some games though where it's like maybe later on in the game, right? Like turn 3 onwards, you're like, hey, you still haven't killed my Arisen Tyrant unit. I'm gonna throw this right in your face now while I'm like camping primary back here. Because like you've killed my Chronomancer squad, yada yada. Now this is gonna be in your face and deny more primary. And now you have to deal with 20 wounds of warrior and 22 wounds of Monolith. But yeah, the whole like, okay, bottom 1, 3-inch Monolith into the middle of the board. Very rarely is that the right play. Like, sure, there's some situations that might win you the game instantly, like removing, if there's one threat to the Monolith and you get to instantly remove it, cool. But like, yeah, it just vibing in the middle is usually very, very scary.
He's tough, but the lack of feel no pain or damage reduction really scares me, especially when it comes to something like a Repulsor Executioner that has those big shots. Like things can go wrong for this model
Or even
so
like a bunch
fast.
of little shots with lethals, right? Like
Yeah.
this army has access to aura of lethal 6s. If your monolith is hurt, that's
Mhm.
lethal 5s.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep this thing safe. And like it's hammer and anvil, so the angles are a little bit trickier to stay safe behind while cutting stuff. Like there's not as much, ability to sweep wide. So I bring him down at one point, thinking that he's going to be safe from the Repulsor Executioner because I'm setting up all these move blocks, and my Nightbringer is going to charge and finish off a 3-wound Dark Shroud, and then get to console into the Repulsor Executioner, who obviously does have access to fall back and shoot. But because of the movement and the geometry and where some other models are, he's not going to be able to fall back to a place that he would want to be in to shoot the monolith, but he could advance there. I had this all drawn up in my head, and then I kind of looked down in the middle of my shooting phase and was like, wait a second. I'm pretty sure the Repulsor Executioner can see me from where it's currently standing. Fuck. Like, this is so bad. Like, the monolith is really thick, and the Repulsor is pretty thick, and I messed up the angles in some way. I probably was focusing on a range instead of an angle at one point or whatever. Huge mistake. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe my dice will just bail me out. Let me just point all the scam cannons at the Repulsor Executioner and see what happens. And it immediately vaporized. This army's kind of stupid. The scam cannons on the monolith are just the death rays for the uninitiated are such a casino. And when it comes up big, it tends to just end games on the spot. Is this game playable without it? Obviously. I mean, look at you can see the primary differential here, and that was like turn 3 after my second 15, but like, whew, it just makes things so much less complicated when the opponent just dies. So this did a really good job of that. Sean unplayed Real Slow Gamer. Also, by the way, Sean's army, freaking incredible. This guy had gorgeous stuff. Everything was done in a quarter scheme, where it was like the top left and bottom right were in the classic like Deathwing boat, and then the other quarters were in black. If Lucas were here, I'm sure he could tell me what lore chapter that's from, but they were super good looking. He was definitely in contention for top painting. I don't know if he got an award, but he definitely earned one. And as a reward for being a pleasant opponent, he gave me this little 3D printed Watcher in the Dark that he painted, which, where did that go? I don't know if that made it home. God damn it. That was such a cool thing he had. Anyway, awesome game. Sean was a great opponent here, but at the end of the day, Warriors move blocking just kind of do the whole thing. He had all of his firepower centered on one flank, so I just kept all of my Catan and Monolith on that flank to continue drawing him over there while the Warriors repeatedly pushed up the other flank, took all the primary, didn't let him come close, and then like Locke is standing on objective, score primary. It was real good. Or the solo Chronomancer, like
so I'm guessing
that's kind of
primary of his was you like doing the move block twice and putting him on a 5.
Yep. Yeah, I just said you don't get to hold any of the midfield. You get a 5 in your home for holding your home field, and then and then bottom 3. I had like 6 or 7 Warriors left from the Chronomancer squad, who then got a couple guys back, who then walked up and charged. I don't remember if it was 5 Infiltrators or the Redeemer. Not Redeemer, obviously, or Redemptor, but they got themselves onto his home field, held him to 0, and then turn 5. I don't even remember what it was, but something else got back there and held him to a 0. Yeah, the ability of this army to punish your opponent's primary constantly is just insane. The Infiltrators are, of course, going to be kind of annoying, but at a certain point, you just kind of get to them when you kill them.
He basically gets to use them to like lock down his home field, so you can never put him on a 0 early on.
Exactly. He was trying to use them in 2 places at once to both lock down his home field and also protect his Aura of Lethal's Tech Marine, who was like out on his castle. So he had them all the way strung out from one guy with his foot on the objective, like full strung to the other side, up into a ruin there. And that doesn't get it done for him. If I were him, I would try to keep these guys all as far back as possible, just to lock down those 5s, because you can't win a game while scoring 0s. Just doesn't work.
Yep.
At the end of the day, he did kill all 3 Catan. He did get the monolith to, I think, 1 wound at the end of the game. And I think Xeris was still chilling.
Secondary.
Sorry? He got 40 on secondary. Totally.
I'm looking at this round 2 where he drew Ring Capture, decided to keep both, and then scored 15 round 3.
Yeah. What a ridiculous thing to do. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because he left like 2 Catan on like 1 or 2 wounds and was like, I'm just gonna murder both of them, dude. And that capture play, Xeris whiffed mega hard trying to deal with some Inceptors, and they fell back over him and got onto the objective. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, man, that's fine. Because it meant that the Inceptors weren't shooting that turn, and that mattered more to me than the secondary points because I knew this was a primary game because, as you can see, my secondaries were also just fine. But yeah, well played by Sean. Fun stuff. Nice. What are we looking at for round 3?
Yes, you're 2-0. What was the round 3 mission?
Round 3 mission is going to be something pretty straightforward. It was it was supply drop, search and destroy, Chilling Rain.
Supply drop, this is a classic. Yeah. Now this is the one you don't want to put World Leaders on.
No, it is not. That could have been real bad. Supply drop is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, GW putting supply drop on search and destroy is one of the silliest combinations in their pack. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And it has been a disaster every time I've played it. I think it's a terrible mission. All right. As a combination. But what are we playing into here? It's a faction I think you know a thing or two about.
Yeah, you are up against a very cool faction, the Leagues of Votann. This guy's running 2 Einherjar champions, both with hammers, 1 squad of 10 warriors, 3 Sagittars with the scam cannons, 2x5 Zerkers with hammers, 2 squads of 5 Hearthguard with Volkite and the Punchy Fists, and then 2 Hecatons with the Conversion Beamer, and 2x6 bikes with the miniguns and 1 squad of 3 bikes with the minigun. So in all, that's basically 10 Hearthguard split up into 2 squads of 5 riding and Hecatons, 15 bikes, and then some Sagittars carrying Zerkers and 1 carrying some warriors. So yeah.
What do you make of this list as a Votann aficionado?
I like the 15 bikes a lot. I've been playing those a bunch since, I don't know, February. Even before that, we were looking at like 12 bikes, 15 bikes. So I think those are fantastic. I think the double fort is sick. I was playing around with the 4 Sagittar 1 fort for a while with the Hearthguard and the 1 fort. The downside behind that, though, is like the fort wants to be outside of 12 to get the like 4s or sustained D3, but the Hearthguard want to be close so they can charge. So they're more of like a counter charge unit for the forts. I don't know if I love, because with the character, that's 210 points. I don't know if I love 420 points if your list's locked up inside of the forts that want to play a little less aggressively. So you probably at that point just hit the gas on them and be like, whatever, they'll get, sustained D3 on stuff far away, but like they'll also still be able to shoot stuff close up and have these Hearthguard come out and punch, which with the full wound rerolls coming out on the Volkite guns, pretty nice. So especially into Catan, actually, if he marks the triple Catan, this can do quite a bit because they'll be wounding on 5s rerolling and just passing you a bunch of 4-up saves, and some of them are going to be dead wounds. So yeah, a little bit less spread out than my usual Votann list, but a little bit more meat. And the forts in particular seem a little bit hard for Hypercrypt if you're not going to charge them with Catan, because if you're trying to do the whole warrior drop-in bomb, they can just void armor you, and all of a sudden now, if they have cover, they're saving on 2s again. So yeah. Tell us how this went.
Totally. So I've played the Votann matchup before. I played it round 1 of Rosehammer into our boy John Siebert. And it was in that matchup that I discovered that this is the matchup for double Chronomancer. Because exactly as you pointed out, Votann have a pile of dudes with 2-up saves, easy access to cover, and AOC. And as a result, the Plasmancer squad is essentially useless. Like, it could shoot some bikes. That'd be cool. Totally. But usually the bikes are playing a little bit further back, cutting angles, because they are the squishiest thing. So getting your 12-inch range dudes into a place to actually hit them without sacrificing your monolith in the process, just not very realistic. So this is one of the games where we make the difficult decision to attach both of our Chronomancers to the Warrior Bricks and let the Plasmancer ride solo, because oh my, are move blocks incredibly effective against Votann. This game was up against my boy Alex. Alex was fantastic. One of my favorite opponents of like this calendar year. Just great guy. Incredibly meticulous. He was I think this was his first tournament. He's been playing for a while, and he's takes the game incredibly seriously. Very careful, very intense on pre-measures and whatnot. I think he's going to be going to some pretty cool places in the future. I think he did get to play Pina later and got obliterated by T-Suns removing the armor saves from his land forts. But like outside of that, I think he had a great event. Yeah, so we go for that. He ends up going first, which I am ecstatic about, because going second on supply drop is such a big deal, especially for Hypercrypt. And he decides to approach the game very cautiously. This guy's a very cautious player, clearly. He sends one Sagittar to his natural expansion, just touches the corner of it, and another Sagittar kind of slips in. We're still playing on the Thunderdome, slips in and just kind of touches the center objective as well. And then everyone else just sort of postures behind walls, and he's like, "What are you going to do?" And he asked me quite candidly. He was saying, "Hey, I could, you've got a rapport. People are telling me you know what you're doing. What do you think, honestly, of how I played that first turn?" And I was pretty candid with him. I was like, "Yeah, man, I think that was incredibly overly cautious. And I think I'm gonna under aggressive, and I'm gonna try to punish you for that really hard." And he was like, "What do you mean? How are you going to punish me for being under aggressive? Like, don't you punish people for being overly aggressive?" And I was like, "Watch this." And then we locked him in Warrior Jail for the duration of the game. He was able to break out eventually and get onto the center objective. The objective disappearing, by the way, was his natural expansion first, my natural expansion second, and then we'd fight over the middle at the end. Which was a great deal of fun. He marked both warrior squads, the Nightbringer and the Void Dragon, which I think is probably just straight up the correct move. So he did a really effective job with that, because the Transcendent really wants to be bopping around doing nonsense. It really doesn't want to try to force itself anywhere. And when you're playing on a mission like Search and Destroy, a deployment like that, because you can't strat reserve onto objectives, the getting a Catan over to your natural expansion takes 2 turns if you don't want to spend a 3-inch on it, if it's not the Transcendent. So I basically just kind of bit the bullet and said, I'm going to do my best to keep these Catan vaguely safe as they push your expansion, and deny your primary a couple times. I did fail a couple of fairly short-range charges early on, which put me a little bit behind on the damage war. But we got it done, stood in places. The end of this game was incredibly nail-bitingly close. Let me flip over to the scorecard here. On top of 5, top of 4. Yeah, going into turn 5. Obviously, it's supply drop. That 15 points for that center objective at the end of the game is going to be really intense. And Alex pointed out a very clever observation, which is that a real way that you can hinder the Chronomancer squads of warriors is to hit them with the Mole. Because if you take 2 inches off their movement characteristic, they only fire in phase 3, which is a real problem. Unfortunately, you need a 4-up for that. And I had both of my Chronomancer warrior squads were still alive behind various walls where the monolith had been previously teleported to. So they're both alive. He's got both of his Mole launchers available. He shoots at one of them, and he fails his Mole roll. So he has to put in the other one into the same squad and gets it done. But that means that one of my squads is not going to be beholden to this. He tries to throw as much crap on the center objective as he possibly can, walls me off of it as hard as he can, and there's no way, given current setups, that I can get onto it. So what I have to do is 3-inch the monolith and then get the warriors out with a Chronomancer, teleport them over afterwards. We had to leave them on the table so we could A, reanimate, and B, auto pass. Because if they fail that battle shock check, I'm kind of up a creek. And then they still have to get overwatched by, I don't remember who he did, the one bike with the minigun or a couple of hard. I think it was just the one bike with the minigun who killed a couple. And then I had to, with my monolith, kill a Sagittar who was on the objective and blocking my access to it, and also some number of Hearthguard behind it. Sagittar only had like 4 wounds, but even with a scam cannon, like needing to get a hit, a wound, They've got cover, obviously, so they have a 6-up save, a failed 6-up, and then do enough damage is like so many points of failure. But we got it done. We fire and faded past where the Sagittar had been previously onto the objective. And between how many guys we killed with the monolith through the that squad of Hearthkin, we exactly contested the objective. If we have one fewer OC on that objective, or he has one more, he gets 15 points and it's a 1-point game. Like, that's how close the margins were here. Unfortunately, a bit of a dead draw turn 5 for me. Makes this also a lot closer because I was not able to bring it down because I had killed all his Sagittars at that point. He just had the land forts, and I was not killing a land fort as my Catan were dead. And secure no man's land is not a thing you can do if there's only one objective in no man's land. And there was no way I was taking that back from him. Also, I was up 16, so like I was very happy to not fight tooth and nail to try to get that back. I just didn't need it. But yeah, really well played by Alex here, digging himself out of a really deep hole. Votann don't really have a great way to clear a full brick of warriors at once. Like, even a squad of bikes just don't really get it done through the -1 to hit from the Chronomancer. So like, this is fundamentally a really bad matchup. 10 Hearthguard.
10 Hearthguard with Grim Demeanor, baby.
Straight facts. Yeah, every time I play both, yeah.
Destroy warriors.
Absolutely. All the Votann players that I play that aren't you or Skylar, like, no one plays that 10-man brick, and I am so happy that they don't, because that unit is terrifying.
I don't like, though, Cron players who've read the core stratagems and know that they can use go to ground to make their warriors save on 3-ups against that unit. Please don't do that.
Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely. Absolutely not. Hilarious. But yeah, the bikes definitely don't do that great, especially with Xeris there for the AOC. They ignore cover, but the Hearthguard don't. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but a big benefit of those bikes is the putting you on 5-ups all the time or whatever. Absolutely. Sweet.
But yeah,
they don't
awesome.
like AOC.
Mm-hmm. No, they do not. So yeah, again, awesome game to Alex. He played it super well. That was also a thing. I sent I got a beautiful wrap off where the Xeris had pinned a Sagittar up against the wall, and with the position of all the other models, there was no way the Sagittar could fall back. And I was like, cool, you're locked there. And he's like, all right, well, I'll just throw everything at you and try to charge you, hit some decent charges. And I was like, that's fine. I don't really care. And then Xeris got obliterated. Like, 5 Hearthguard and the champ did like 8 wounds to him. And I was like, okay, never mind. Never mind. And then I was impressed. Xeris is usually the MVP in terms of durability, but the Hearthguard have like all of the exact correct profiles into him to get it done, because they're a bunch of like strength 9, AP 2, it's exactly what you want, and multiple damage.
They do charge mortals, gets around. Is invulnerable.
Yeah, it's real good stuff. So yeah, props to Alex. Super well played game. This definitely could have gone the other way. Again, if I hadn't gotten that really nice break to hold down his 15. But yeah, how's it going? Yeah, it's funny. That Storm Hostile turn 5 is me taking his home field back from him because that was the only way I could do it.
Hilarious.
Because there was only one midfield and I couldn't take it. But good stuff, man. Sweet. So finishing up the day 3-0 feels great as always. At this point, Alex had an unfortunate situation with his round 1 opponent, so he's like, he might be 1-1 at this point. Steve is also 3-0, so got to worry about Steve in the water because he is a bit of a shark. But that is not what we get paired into in the morning. You want to run me through the round 4 list, the Chad of the week, as it were?
Round 4 mission.
Round 4 mission is good old-fashioned Dawn of War Scorched Earth.
Another not so fantastic mission.
Yeah. Scorched Earth is such a good mission, and it gets not as nearly as much love as it should because it's Dawn of War.
Yeah, it's really fun on sweeping. It's really fun on Crucible. Yeah, we've played both those variants, and it's fantastic.
We haven't played it on Search and Destroy yet. I think that would be a really good one for it because that's one where the asymmetry is really cool. Where if you can apply enough pressure to push and burn someone else's objective, that's awesome. But if you burn your natural expansion, like that's gonna cost you a lot. Huh.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
All right, so Scorched Earth Dawn of War. What do we not want to see? Fast shooting. Well, we get shooting, maybe not necessarily fast. Let's find out. So you were up against Astra Militarum. We got Gaunt's Ghosts. Love to see that. We got Lord Solar Leontis. We have a platoon command squad with a mortar in it for overlapping fields. We've got Ursula Creed. We've got a squad of Catachan Jungle Fighters. We've got 2 Chimeras, 1 squad of 6 Bulgrin, a field ordnance battery. We've got 2 of those. We've got 10, 20, 30, the full 30 Kazakin, a Lehman Russ Exterminator. That's the one with like the big autocannon. 2 Vanquishers.
Nope.
Those are...
How many?
Oh, sorry, 3 Vanquishers. Dude, this list just keeps going. And 2 Scout Sentinels. So, lots of Lehman Russes, all the Kazakin, and then a little bit of punch in the Bulgrin.
Yeah, if you're trying to figure out what guard looks like in the future, this is not a bad direction to go, especially because Lehman Russ all got a lot cheaper other than the Demolisher. Lehman Russ Vanquishers have a railgun. This is very scary.
Yeah, and the Exterminator is the one that when it shoots you and hits you, I think everything else says like increased AP by 1 against you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It also just like that, like the profile on the Exterminator, let me pull it up here, is so good at killing Catan. It's 4 shots, rapid fire 4, so really 8 shots at 913 twin linked.
Nice.
Like excellent profile. Especially when hitting on 4s is like actually hitting on like fucking 3s reroll 1s. So lots to be scared of here. And Lehman Russ moving 10 with moving, what is it, 13, 12? I don't know how fast things go. They move fast is the moral of the story. Plus 2, yeah. So with that in mind, and we're playing Dawn of War, like I look around, I check a bunch of positions. There is nowhere on and he's got solar, so he's got redeploy 3. There is nowhere on the table that I can hide a monolith from Russes that get to choose where they want to deploy. That's just like not a thing that can happen. We're playing on what layout are we playing this on? I don't remember what the layouts are called. I think this is layout. I should have it in the app here. This is on layout. It's still on layout 1. That's not right. Nope, it's not layout 1. Is it layout? It's layout 3. There we go. We're playing on layout 3. Which there's just nowhere to hide a monolith from Rust that move 10 from anywhere in the deployments that they want. So we have to start the monolith off the table, which is a bummer because it just like I said, high damage shots into monoliths, just things go terribly wrong. And if he just points all 3 Rusts at it, and even if I pop the 4 Binbone, I could just fail them. And having only 1 CP, I can't both pop it and reroll one of them. Like the monolith is gonna die. That is a lost con. We're not doing that. So we start the monolith off the board, which is a bummer. We start all the warriors on the board, which is also a bit of a bummer because it means that he'll get to shoot them with his field ordnance batteries, which are terrible. Don't like. This guy kept trying to tell me that they were doing great in his other games. I'm sure they were, but like I do not rate this artillery piece at all, other than the fact that it looks sick. This guy's army also very clean. One of those guard players who like does lots of weathering and really clean, crisp lines underneath the weathering. Great looking army. This guy's name was This guy's name was also Alex, not to be confused with the other guy called Alex. Oh no, I'm still looking at the previous mission. Joseph. This is Joseph. Joseph, also known as Joe. Yeah. So that's real scary. But yeah, so he, after seeing all of his redeploys and stuff, I end up with all 3 of my Catan in the same place, pushing the left flank, which is like a super common move for this army. The Catan do not want to spread out. That's how they die. They want to stay together so that you have a very limited set of firing angles that you need to minimize, and you get to isolate stuff and pick it off, because a whole army of guard absolutely can kill a Catan or 2. It can totally do it. But just a couple of pieces, a lot more easy to scam people and just to weather the storm. And it's scorched earth, so I only need to hold down my home field and one other objective while denying him the other ones. So the basic game plan here is I'm going to hold the left flank, I'm going to hold my home field, warriors are going to keep him off the middle objective in the right flank, and my primary will go up 5 points more than his every turn if that works according to plan. Spoiler alert, it doesn't, but like that's the idea. So turn one, he scouts forward a little bit. I jump my Transcendent Catan onto that objective. I pre-measure it, so his Kasrkin, the closest squad, can get in range to shoot, obviously, get in range to throw grenades, but they're not going to be able to use their Meltamine because I'm outside of, 12 of that guy, because he moved, no, more than that, 15, because he moves 6, throws it 3, but can also, obviously, get move for an extra couple inches. So we double check. We cannot get Meltamine unless he goes for a charge, in which case I'm pretty fine with that because then that unit dies. So that's all fine. He's got one Scout Sentinel over here who I line up the Nightbringer to shoot at and Xeris to cross-court shoot at. Hopefully they'll take it out. And then he's got the Exterminator Rust and one Executioner over here, and that will be all of the firepower that can go at these Catan. That's fine by me. Hopefully we kill the Scout Sentinel. If not, the math is complicated because it's a lot of swingy saves. But I'm thinking if he's lucky, he'll push through the Transcendent. It's possible, but it seems unlikely. We'll see what happens. My suspicion is the Transcendent's going to walk out of this with like 2 or 3 wounds. I've got a CP save to reroll one of the invulns, specifically against the Rail Cannon. Like, we should be okay. The Void Dragon? Nightbringer. The Void Dragon is behind into wall, so he's not even targetable, but he's in that same area. The Nightbringer shoots at the Sentinel, does no damage. Like he rolls like 1 shot and misses or something. Xeris shoots down, gets 3 hits, 3 wounds, 2 failed saves. He manages to roll, I don't know, it's a 5, I think it's a 6, because he needs a 6 because it's a 4-up save and cover or something like that. Anyway, so the moral of the story is the Scout Sentinel lives on 1 wound, which is annoying, but it should be fine. And then on his, this is me going first, by the way, to be clear. So then on his bottom 1, he runs out, and the Scout Sentinel fires first. The Scout Sentinel shoots its Hunter Killer and its Las Cannon. Las Cannon into the Transcendent, hits, wounds, failed save, 6 damage, half to 3, fail, all 3 feel no pains. Okay, fair enough. Happens sometimes. Hunter Killer Missile, those don't do anything. Hits, wounds, 6 damage, half to 3, fail 3, feel no pains. Okay. So I've lost half my Transcendent Catan to a Scout Sentinel shooting, who I really would have liked to have died, but that's okay. That's how it goes sometimes, you know? Cool. All right. The autocannon and Russ then goes. I think that the caster can fire next. They do no damage, 0 damage. And I'm like, that's great. Cool. I mean, like they're caster, they're not going to do a ton. The autocannon Russ fires next, and autocannon does great work. Rolls real nice on the wound rolls. I fail a bunch of saves, fail a bunch of feel no pains. The Transcendent Catan is immediately dead, and I'm like, all right. Fair enough. That's okay. You lose a Catan sometimes. He explodes, as kind of a callback to how yesterday started, and does 6 mortal wounds to the Nightbringer and 6 mortal wounds to the Void Dragon. Nightbringer takes 4 of those 6. Void Dragon takes, I don't remember how many of those. All right, cool, sweet. The Rail Cannon and Rust fires now into the Nightbringer. Hits, wounds, fail save, CP reroll. Fail save again, 12 damage, half to 6, fail 5, feel no pains. Nightbringer is at 3 wounds, and the Sponsons pick him up. Thankfully, he does not also explode. So bottom 1, we have now lost 2.5 Catan. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's how it goes sometimes. It's a dice game, you know? So we're going to try to claw our way back from that. Warriors do warrior things. It's glorious. We take objectives repeatedly, just keep on stealing, doing nonsense. Unfortunately, he's got bottom of turn here, so he's going to get a 10 on primary on bottom 5. There's just not really a way that I can stop that. Fortunately, the Void Dragon is a king because he just like walks out, sucks the soul out of that Sentinel, and just starts killing stuff, killing Kasrkin. Any vehicle that comes by, he's just killing it. He's T-posing on that objective for the rest of the game. He ends the game on that midfield objective at full wounds, just like killing it. I held those 2 objectives for the duration of the game. Unfortunately, my secondary game is not so hot. I have a number of dead draws until we get to the very bottom of turn or top of turn 5. Going into that turn 5, he has held on to defend stronghold with the intention to score it, which is a really big mistake against Necrons. And I'm seeing that as my win con. I need to deny him that while scoring some secondaries, and we'll be able to come out cleanly. I just need to score literally any 2 secondaries. I look through my deck on my phone of what's left available, and any card other than Bring It Down, I just score it automatically. All I need to do is do that, and then have him not score Capture Enemy Outpost, which is super easy. Kill him off of that, not a problem. Unfortunately, I burn all of my CP, sucking my warriors back to my home field off of out of midfield. This is a mistake. This is a huge mistake in hindsight, because if I just leave them there and then some of them regen, I can pick up my monolith, auto pass them, and then I will score my 10 points anyway. I don't need to hold my home field with the monolith, and then the monolith can drop in close to his backfield. The warriors can teleport over to it, get out and fire and fade, and I'll still have a CP in the tank. Because I suck the warriors back, I don't have a CP in the tank, and I happen to draw exactly Bring It Down, which I'm not able to do because the monolith can't reliably kill a Russ. That's fine. He ends up getting 0 hits out of his 4 shots. Cool. We are able to deny the defend, though, and then bottom 5, it's just going to be a question to me of what his secondary draws are. There's a bunch of them that he can score okay. He pulls Extend Battle Lines, gets it done, and the net result of that game is a 74-point draw. Wild.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a draw at a tournament game in 10th edition. Not until this weekend. So mad props to Joseph for making that work. But yeah, playing down 600 points, tricky, as the World Leaders player found out. So fair enough that would come back around to bite me again. And you can see he got a 10 on primary turn 3. That was such a bummer. I really needed to not let that happen. But I wasn't able to get quite enough warriors on the objective such that he couldn't still order the caster cannon extra OC after I shot them. I wasn't able to kill like any of them. He was barely able to hang on to that. Was a big bummer. The Warriors win every game, to be clear. If you haven't figured this out yet, viewers, they are the thing that makes the list work. When we talk about what to do next with the list, we'll talk about that a little bit more. In this game, they just trapped a Chimera without even charging it. They just sat in a circle around it and didn't let a squad of Casterkin out until turn 5. Just insane. Utility. They kept getting shot at, not getting killed, sucked back to the monolith, rinse and repeat. They eventually ended up in combat with an Executioner Rust, which is incredible because Plasma Sponsons can't shoot into combat, so he has 1 Las Cannon shot and 1 Exterminator shot that shoot into combat, or nothing is shooting the Warriors, or he's falling back and not firing that guy at all, so he wants to obviously fire it into something else. So this was, really effective maneuver there. We did a lot of other good stuff with that. He just wasn't able to take me off of points, but yeah, that letting him get that 10 on turn 3 really kind of sinks the game for me. If my plan is going to be win on primary, after I lose my 10 on turn 2, I need to hold him to 5s on turns 3 and 4. He's going to get a 10 turn 5. It's Scorched Earth. Like, we're not stopping that going second without tabling him. And we went first, and certainly we're not going to table him without 2 of my Catan. So is what it is. Was a really fun game, well played by Joseph, but yeah, not quite the result we were looking for at the start of the game, but a result I'm pretty happy with given how turn 1 shook out overall. Yeah.
Well,
Sweet.
Sounds like a crazy game.
Yeah.
Good job clawing yourself back from whatever that was, round 1.
Yeah, I respect this as well. The dude was trying to be super apologetic about it. I couldn't care less, man. It's a dice game. Dice are going to happen. I'm going to dice people. People are going to dice me. But
also, you're playing Catan, so get wrecked, bozo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had like the opposite experience playing guard. I didn't get shot by vanquishers, right? But like when I played guard at Cascade, I was like, I'm gonna throw 2 Catan on this objective. You can get like a sentinel to come and see one because like I can't, it moves fast. I can't stop that. But I don't think you're gonna kill both of these. And if you get the Kazarkin out and like commit all your indirect, maybe you kill one, and then we like pick up all the stuff you've exposed. Didn't get the Kazarkin out, but he did shoot sentinel. He shot all the indirect. Did like knocked 90 to 7. 90 healed 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems about right. And then he's like, oh no, now the Void Dragon's in the middle. I got to switch everything. And just hammered the Void Dragon the entire game and didn't kill him. So wild, again, the Catan, just this ball of uncertainty that you hurl at your opponent and neither you or them know what's about to happen. Maybe it gets 2 get 1 shot round 1. Who knows?
It happens.
Live all game.
Yeah, the fact that the Void Dragon on the following turn took basically the same amount of output as the 2 Catan had at turn 1. Yeah. Because the other Scout Sentinel got around, those other tanks were still alive. Another squad of Casterkin came up and did the same thing, and he did 2 damage. And I was like, yeah, that's more like it.
I guess like
I think in total he did like 5 or 6, and then because I healed back to 10. I think he did 7, and then I healed 5 because Void Dragon into vehicles is ludicrously overpowered. Double healing at Catan is disgusting. But so this will take me out of the running for first place here, but we're still trying to fight for a podium finish here. Was a great time. The other guys who won their round 4s were thanking my opponent profusely because it was like some Chaos Knights and some other stuff, and they were like, I don't want anything to do with that. Yeah, fair enough. So we'll get to play a fun round 5 instead.
I don't know. One of them might get down paired.
We'll see. Well, no, because there were 4 true undefeateds at this point.
Tragic.
So I'm getting a pair down into someone who lost this round, and in particular, I get paired into our boy Nicholas Fromm and his 1,000 Suns, Norm, I know that you've been playing around with a bunch lately, but he's got a very different take on it. Tell me what you think about his list.
Yeah, so Nicholas.
Oh, and sorry, mission. By the way, this is going to be Crucible Purge.
Crucible Purge. Okay, so classic GW mission.
These are all letters.
So Nicholas has been playing T-Suns for a while in our area, but he has been championing kind of like the build that came about at the very, very beginning of 10th that people kind of quickly wrote off, but he has still been like seeing some good success with it. So he's got Airmen on foot. He's got an Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Zinch. He's got 1 Infernal Master with the Arcane Vortex. He's got Magnus the Red. He's got just 1,000 Sun Sorcerer with Lord of Forbidden Lore. That's the repeat Cabal. And then he has 1,000 Sun Sorcerer and Terminator armor. So I bet you can see where this is going. This guy's got the Umbrellific Crystal. So that's the once per game redeploy. Then he's got 3 squads of 5 rubrics for all of the, Airmen, Infernal, Foot Sorcerer. Then he's got 1 squad of 10 Scarab Occult Terminators. The whole big shebang, 430 points, hanging out with that T-Sun Sorcerer and Terminator armor. Then he's got 2 squads of Cultists and 2 squads of Zangor Enlightened. So he still manages to get 4 squads of trash with all that. Tell us about this game.
Yeah, this was an awesome game. Fromm is a great opponent. We had a really, really good time. A lot of intent, a lot of discussion of like, if I do this, that, and that, will this work? Or, like, what am I missing here? Oh, no, that'll probably work. Well, I do have this stratagem, that kind of stuff. Very cerebral game. Had a lot of fun with it. I got to go second here. That's kind of the big picture at the end of the day that really defines the metric. Purge is a very go second favored mission because you're getting to pick. Like, first of all, turn 1, if you can avoid losing a unit, you can kill one of theirs. That's 8 points of free primary. And then turn 5, hold more is suddenly possible. It works out real well. So that's kind of the backdrop for this is now he has to dig himself out of having to go first on Purge. And he initially tries to have a bit of a staring contest, which is a really dangerous maneuver to pull off here. He's trying to respect a lot of stuff, trying to not overcommit anywhere, which I understand. I do have a good amount of damage output. We're playing on What layout is this? I think this is the same layout that we just did. Layout. Yeah, layout. What is that called? Layout 3. We're still on layout 3. So we got that nice little corner pocket, on the bottom side of your DZ with the 4x6 and the, what is it? It's 5x10. I run Nightbringer right up into that little pocket and say, all right, cool, I'm going to threaten this objective over here if you want to come over. It's going to be great. I got Void Dragon pretty much behind him. He sent some cultists up in the middle of the table, and we light him up with the lightning and the monolith because he's super far back. He's not getting to the monolith anytime soon. And if he wants to full send Magnus over to deal with him, I've got both Void Dragon and Nightbringer staring right at where Magnus would have to go. We're feeling comfy. Transcendent pops over to the top left, is just going to be a little bit of a harassing unit. We'll see what or not even Transcendent. That was literally, I just sent, no, I must have sent the Transcendent. Anywho, From says, cool, I see that your Nightbringer is hiding behind a wall there, and I'm going to play my trap card. I don't give a fuck. And he turns off my walls and obliterates Nightbringer from full. Very cool. Very cool. In more technical Thousand Suns terms, he double moves his Disc Sork over to where he can cut a beat on the Nightbringer and then spends the 2 CP to give all of his other Psychers line of sight through the eyes of the thousands of the Disc Sork, and they all blast the Nightbringer and he dies immediately.
So this was what? Arcane Vortex, Magnus, and then a few odd sorcerers that killed him?
And Ahriman. Yeah.
Dang. Unlucky.
I mean, he full reroll to hit and wounds. Just shoots really hard. Magnus is a problem, right?
And then how was the whole half plus damage working? Was Arcane doing the full 2 to you or no?
Yeah. We're playing with mods as they're pretty universally understood at this point that all mods are the same in kind of mods. There's no attack versus damage mods, so Arcane Vortex is doing
so that hurts a lot more.
Oh wait, I think he was even doing that wrong. I didn't even realize that was a mod. I think we were playing that as 2 damage that gets halved and he still killed me. I don't remember. I can ask him. I didn't even realize that was a damage mod. But whatever the case, just obliterates the Nightbringer. It's not even close. It's all right, fair enough. We'll see what we can do. And I promptly entirely abandoned that flank. I picked up the Void Dragon, put him on the other flank, towing onto the objective from strat reserves, and said, all right, that's fine. You can have this because we're playing Purge, right? So I don't actually need to put you off of a second objective. I need to put you off of a third objective while holding a second myself. That's really easy for this army. So we go back and forth on that. I keep picking up the secondaries is that I need while we go vaguely parity on primary. And then Nick starts to kind of see the writing on the wall. Turn 2, I got a 16. This was really bad. I had a squad of Scarabs run out and touch the midfield, and I had a Transcendent and a Locust on the expansion objective. And I was like, dude, you gotta kill these Scarabs or it's gonna be bad. And he was like, man, I gotta kill your Catan. I'm putting every shot I have into that Transcendent. Did not kill the Transcendent, did not take the objective. That's a 16. He starts to see the writing on the wall and realizes, oh snap, if I'm gonna win this game, I need to stop Tyler from scoring secondaries. And to do this, he full sends Magnus to get really into my zone, to point one gun at my solo Chronomancer and the other gun at my solo Locust, and those are my last 2 trash units. So after that, I'll just have the Monolith and some Warriors and the Void Dragon. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Fair enough. That's a maneuver. Unfortunately, all 40 of my Warriors are still alive, and the Monolith is now 10 inches from Magnus. So Monolith wanders forward, Warriors get out, kill Magnus, which is just... oh, I love it. I shot the Monolith first, but I think the Warriors all said and done did 16, or does Magnus have 16 wounds? I think they did 14 wounds to him.
Yeah.
All said and done. Yeah, they got 14 through. of his 16, and he had already taken some, so he's just... And that's kind of the game right there. There's not much that a Thousand Suns player can do without Magnus. The Sorcerer and his Terminator friends had jumped over and had charged the Transcendent. The reason they didn't take the objective there was because the Void Dragon, who had teleported over there on top of 2, because he left bottom 1? Question mark? Because bottom 2, because he went first. Anyway, whatever the case. I don't know why this has me on top when I went second, but anyway, the Void Dragon heroics them, which Nick didn't think that this was that great of an idea because they don't super care, but he just got in there and killed 2 or 3 Terminators and just kept doing that and holding down the point because him and the Locust that were there was 6 OC, and Nick just wasn't able to get a full 6 Terminators or 7 Terminators on that he would have needed because they were dying. So that worked out real well. They sat in combat for a while. On turn 5, top of 5, I'm looking at this on top because this is the wrong, this isn't that game yet. Here's the game. Here's Magnus full sending to kill that Locust, and you can't see the Chronomancer, but he's on the other side. Beautiful army, by the way, by From here. Magnus is crazy cool looking. This green mixed in with the blue and purple looks really sexy. And the rest of his stuff had a bunch of cool conversions as well. Really good looking stuff. But yeah. So my secondary game ends up getting hit pretty hard by this play on his part. You see, I draw, bring it down behind. I drew like bring it down, capture, and then I burned bring it down because I had already killed. Had I already killed Magnus? I think so. He died on turn 3. Yeah, he did. So I burnt that and picked up capture, and there was no way to capture because I think that was like my only CP, so I couldn't 3-inch after doing that or something. Whatever the case, it was a mess. Real bad secondary turn for me there, which made it seem a little bit closer. He then just decided that he was going to kill the monolith, and I was like, you don't have enough Cabal points to like to nut twist and then have enough damage without Magnus in there. And he's like, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to Doom Bolt it, and then I'm going to do Dev Wounds, and it's going to work. And Pina is sitting there at this point, and he's like, there's no way that works, man. I'm like, there's no way that works. And he's like, we got to try. And it worked. It's the only time the monolith died was top 5 against Nick with his just like ragtag bunch of nonsense, managing to strip them all the way down, literally just through Dev Wounds. I didn't take a single save because almost everything's wounding me on 6s, but it's all Dev Wounds, so got it done. Here, dude. Was very funny, but yeah, we finished this off pretty strong, largely because we're going second. Move. Yeah, you
don't even have enough power for your strongest spell. I don't need it. Just fucking kills you anyways.
Yeah, the Terminators did surprisingly good. They're really effective into Catan, with access to the full rerolls and making the bolters psychic.
Yeah, and it's a unit that goes because it wins on 5s when its bolters get psychic near Magnus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
as we've discussed,
wounding on 5s, full rerolls,
mass.
Yeah, and piles of 1 damage are really good into Catan.
I don't know if the full rerolls works on them, but.
You make your bolter psychic, then you full reroll to hit wound with psychic weapons.
Maybe it does. I haven't played the Turners so much. I know there's like some weird restrictions in there. So just making sure this combo is correct before we unleash it upon the world.
Yeah, sure.
I'm surprised. So I'm surprised he never went for like a turn off your armor on the warriors, because that seems.
He did. He did do that. The thing is, I didn't bring the warriors out until like bottom 3. I just kept them off the table the whole time. They picked up middle of turn 1, and then they just stayed off. And then when they finally did come in, he shot at them. He was only able to get a couple things shooting at them.
I guess there's also the very weird interaction of he turns your armor off, shoots you with like a ragtag unit of rubrics, kills like 12, and then you can still teleport away.
Yep.
So he's still, but like turning armor off, shooting like Terminator combo seems
Yeah.
Very sexy.
But the problem was that the way the Chronomancer squad ended up being, they showed up at 3, they fire and faded, they got onto the objective, the same objective that the Terminators were currently fighting the Void Dragon on.
Yeah.
So in order to shoot the Warriors, they had to crystal, and when they crystalled, only like one of them was able to get in rapid fire range because of the geometry of the situation.
Gotcha. So you kind of waited to.
Yeah, and also like half the squad was dead at that point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I kept the Warriors off the table as long as possible to avoid them getting murdered because I know they're what wins the game. And they won the game again. They killed Magnus and they took objectives. Like, that's all the things you can ask of a unit.
There you go.
But yeah, it was a good one. Props to Fromm for a well-played game. He didn't really understand the Warriors into Magnus. Like, I was like, hey, man, this is my biggest shooting unit. And he's like, yeah, but I'm Magnus. And I'm like, all right. I've explained to you how this works. We'll see how it goes.
Magnus is can still be put on 4-up saves, and then you pass him 22 lethal wounds. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Particularly in this position here. Like, if he just rotated himself so his staff is behind that piece of wall instead of in front of it,
then he gets
like, now I'm in trouble.
Too. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah. I might be able to prevent that by showing up in a slightly different place or picking up the monolith or whatever, but like, it's definitely way easier for me when he just gives me the guy without cover as is. So yeah. So at the end of that, we finish up 4-1-1. Pull that off. There we go. I end up or not 4-1-1, 4-0-1. There we go. No losses, just the one draw. I finish up in 3rd place. I didn't put my picture in here of my trophy. It's a cool trophy. It's downstairs. So props to all of my opponents for getting me there, getting me to finish ahead of the guard guy. Joseph, who also went 4-0-1 with his triple vanquisher list. Let's go. Props to my impromptu teammates for getting me there on OG win percentage, because that was our tiebreaker. But yeah, overall a real fun event. Really happy with the list. If there were not points changes just happening, I would not change the list at all. I think it still does a really great thing. But yeah, overall a really great event there.
Yeah, this was the restriction I was thinking of real quick. Yeah. So the Thousand Suns have like the 2 weird stratagems, the Warp Sight for the indirect, and then the Psychic Dominion or whatever for the full hidden wound rerolls. The full hidden wound rerolls is like Psyker unit. Whenever a model makes a psychic attack, you get it. So it works with the whole turning the Vulture psychic. The Warp Sight one is Psyker unit, but only like Psyker models with psychic weapons get to do it. And the Terminators aren't Psyker models, so they can't ever indirect. Yeah. I was like, I know one of these doesn't work. Sorry, I was the indirect one.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Wacky. But yeah, so that's your combo. I think the Terminators totally have of play. I don't think they're better than the other T-Sun stuff. I think that the maximal dudes and characters just seems better, but they definitely do a thing. And if you know what works for you, that at the end of the day is a more powerful tool. And frankly, being a beat off meta might be worth the decrease in overall power level if you're playing into opponents who aren't able to adapt to such a different threat, because there's really nothing like the Terminators and Thousand Suns in terms of either defense or offense. Frankly, they have a very different set of profiles.
Yep.
But yeah, sweet. So that's the event there. Those are my games. We got one question who came in from our boy Isaac, who actually got to meet. He was at the event. Shout out to Isaac. Had a good time meeting you there. He says, looks like I'm going to swap to Court for the next event because Hypercrypt got smacked. I mean, they both got smacked basically equally. So do with that information what you will.
I think
like in terms of like just points.
Yeah. I think the list you are playing got hit more.
Yeah, because Roberts went up, what, 145?
135.
135. I went up 165. So that's a noticeable difference, sure. And also just in general, like this list is kind of teetering. There's not a lot of small pieces that are easy to move around, whereas in the
if you cut out your trash, now all of a sudden you've lost all your
terrible.
Trash.
Yeah,
like you have to remove an asset. Yeah. So it's like remove a big asset to get a bunch of trash. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So going on, he says here, do you think, and I'm going to completely redirect this at you, Nick, because you've been playing tons of court, and I've played a couple games with a weird court list. Do you think that you take 3 immortal squads and cut the Canoptic Melter Rats, or keep them and cut one of the immortals? I feel like 3 immortals is a bit greedy, but on the other hand, they are incredible into orcs, and I love the extra mortals. How do you feel the Robert style court list is going to be adapting here, Nick?
Yeah. I mean, so it's 135, right? So you have like basically Isaac's identified you've got 3 options to cut. You could just straight cut a Doomstalker and go to 2. Now you still get to play 15 Immortals, you still get to play your Acanthrites, right? You still get to play your 18 Wraiths. That's fine. The issue with the Doomstalker going away is now all of a sudden you're like much weaker to armor. That's like your only thing that's like above like strength 6. I mean, there's random Melta, but like the Wraiths aren't that good at killing stuff, and they're all like AP1 or AP0. So I don't love that option. Maybe in a team's environment you could go down to 2, especially because like on some WTC boards it's a bit awkward to get all 3 Doomstalkers shooting where you want them to shoot. But for me that seems to be like I don't really want to cut that. I'm kind of like, as much as I love the Immortals, I do think the easiest cut to the list is cut one of the Plasminster Immortals. That gives you what I think it's 75 plus 65, so it's like 140. So you're 5 points under, yip-de-doo, you know, like cool. The thing about that too is sometimes people will take Fixed against you, Fixed Assassinate, and now you have 1 less character in their face, so Assassinate's like a little bit less of a lucrative pick. You don't have quite as much of the counterpunch as someone goes out to touch objective and then you shoot, 15 Immortals and 3 Plasmancers at them. I think in general, though, that package might just be going away. Like with Xeris and the Immortals and the Plasmancers all going up, I'm interested in seeing what you can build now with those all going away. Because like people were playing lists without the Immortals beforehand. Like Roberts was playing Immortals, right? But like people were playing double Catan because Catan are a great countercharge piece if the raids get bogged down. And I think some people are even considering playing, like there's a bunch of stuff that went down, right? Like Flayed Ones went down, Scorpex went down. I think there's a lot of interesting places to experiment in Necron still in Cancourt. So if you just want to like play the easiest, probably cut the Immortals and keep going. But if you want to experiment, maybe remove that whole package and see what else you can get for like the 500-600 points that package had. I think the Acanthrites are fine. Like they are good trash. You could replace them with probably about any trash. I do think they're better than Locusts because they move way faster and they're beasts. They can go through walls. Like a thing I really like about the Acanthrites is they move 12, they infiltrate, they're OC2, so that's OC6 in the squad. They're Canoptech, so they get all the buffs. So every once in a while, the reactive move and Lone Op can just mess with your opponent. And the random Meltas sometimes like kill cars. I've had Meltas like pop rhinos. I've had them like do, like 8 damage to brigands. Yeah, and you can deny a lot of early primary by someone being like, here's an OC4 tank, and I'm like, here's OC6 Acanthrites -5. So I wouldn't cut those first, actually. As weird as they look, I think the more Flayed Ones is like a important tool to have. So yeah.
I think that a lot of people who are kind of on the fringes of playing the Cancourt were very excited by the prospect of not having to get this messy Forge World model or print of some kind. And I completely agree with you. I think they are an integral part of the list that tampering with is probably
if you really can't find them or really don't like them, try out Flayed Ones, right? Like they're still infiltrating. They move way slower, but like you're less... They're cheap. They're like, what, 50 points for 5 now or something? Like, losing them early is like a whatever, Acanthrites were, what, 80 for 3? Something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, but honestly, like, you should go find your favorite Acanthrite model and get those built because they're really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Sweet. As far as the crypt list is concerned, trying to adapt it, I think there's kind of 2 directions you can go. You can either say, hey, the Catan went up a ton and they're not that crazy. I don't know about your experience with this list, Nick, but in my experience, the Catan very rarely do anything. They're really good at being firepower magnets, and occasionally they kill Angron, which is kind of cool. But like in most of these games, they kind of just stand in a place really well, and the warriors win in the game. So I'm thinking about doubling down on that and just cutting the Nightbringer and cutting the Void Dragon. I want to keep the Transcendent because he's fantastic with the additional mobility, and now he's the cheapest one. I mean, other than frickin' Deceiver. Is Deceiver more OC?
I think he might be. Let me double.
Yeah, he's OC. All right, that guy's totally worth checking out. Because he is the cheapest one. He's more OC and he's tankier because he's got stealth.
Yep.
And he's got redeploy. I might check that out. But I think so. I think dropping. Yeah. Sorry?
I was saying I've got a fantastic Deceiver model you can borrow if you ever want to try him.
I just might take you up on that. So I think that's an interest. So you can cut down the Catan. So I'm going to show you. I think you can also go the other direction because a lot of people are going to be cutting out their Catan, and everyone's going to be teching to kill bully boys right now. And the things that kill bully boys and the things that kill Catan are opposites. Catan really don't like high volume of low damage shots with mediocre AP that are putting most of their power into the volume and the strength. Bully boys only T6, no wound mods, but have really good armor save, really good feel no pain. So you want high AP, high damage stuff going into them. You want a lot of blast weapons going into them because they are a 6-man unit. Like the things you want to kill those two units are very different. So Catan stonks might actually be going up. I think that there's like I know was it the Swedes who were playing triple transcendent for a while there that we had to pair around?
I think
the Swedes, the Belgians. Yeah, that list looks super cool. And I think that going in something like a triple transcendent direction would make a lot of sense right now if you love Catan. I don't love Catan. I think they're cool. But I'm here for warriors. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut out Nightbringer and Void Dragon, and in their place, I'm going to pick up Emotech because, goddamn, I need some freaking command points. And then a Triarch Stalker because I am so damn tired of praying that people don't know about go to ground or how to turn their models correctly. I will be ignoring your cover. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And then a third warrior brick. Sounds like a lot of fun. Those 200 points are the ones that are most likely to get reassigned to something else. But I think we might be able to squeeze enough juice out of that turnip. In terms, in Hypercrypt, Charles. In terms of making that sing. 2 squads with the Chronomancer and a squad with the Plasmancer, just like I think is going to get it done. Obviously, the damage falls off a cliff a little bit without access to the Void Dragon and the Nightbringer. But the move blocking is up. The damage out of the Warriors is up from the Triarch, and the shenanigans are up from Emotech. I think there might be some sauce there, though I am also now very curious about the Deceiver the more I think about him, especially because he's on a 40.
He is tiny.
Little boy. What do you think in terms of Hypercrypt here for the other aspiring Necronomers, Nick?
I don't know if this is good, but I think it's really funny. Mm-hmm. I agree the Warriors are really fantastic. I think at least maybe the 2 squads still stay in there. I guess you keep Xeris at that point. I don't know. I'm really interested in like looking down the Scorpec route, dude. I don't know how the issue with Scorpex is like how they fare into Tau, right? They just get lit up by Riptides.
Yeah.
And also like they don't do enough damage to Green Tide and they don't do enough damage to Bully Boys, so they actually might be horrible into Orcs. They're fantastic into Marine Bodies, so they're great into BA. Mm-hmm. The thing I like about Scorpex is they went down. They hit pretty hard for their points. The Lord went down quite a lot. He's very chonky. And they can also get yoinked through the Monolith. I know beforehand people were playing like triple, double Monolith builds. I wonder if like it's cut all the Catan, maybe switch to a double Monolith build. One Monolith is teleporting around, threatening, shooting. One Monolith is like holding down a point and can yoink melee threats across the board and then spend CP to allow them to charge. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Might be stronger with rates, because they don't die. But I like the idea of checking out Scorpex. That Lord is very tanky for his points, and the unit hits decently hard. So for like, I think it's what, 160 for the character and the 3 guys now, or you could play just 6 score packs for the same points, something like that.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by the multiple monoliths build. That looks like a ton of fun. I gotta try that out, whether you're playing score packs or not. The monolith is just like such a solid piece. Monoliths and warriors are what's going on here. I think that I'm also really intrigued by the Lord, the score pack Lord on his own.
Yeah,
as an 80-point tanky OC2 beat stick. I think you take him and you slam the deep strike enhancement on him and say this guy just pops around constantly. And is he as durable as a Catan? No. Is he a quarter of the points? Yes. Or I see like a third of the points, maybe like 100. And he can do a lot of nonsense with that. I think that's a fun tech piece to look into. I think death marks make a lot of sense in Crypt at this point, now that they're so damn cheap. Having more units that do deep strikes all the time seems great if you're going to try to win the race to 100 with more slowing down. So there's options there. But yeah, I think Necrons are still in a very solid place overall. What are you most excited about looking forward right now in terms of the meta next? Kind of be our last question before I got to run. What are you playing? What are you excited about? What can we expect to see from you in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I mean, my focus on teams is still like Necrons, so I'm going to be doing a bunch of can court stuff. My focus on singles right now, though, is I am still loving this T-Suns train. I'm hoping to be able to play them at Gongai if I can pry this army away from one of the people that usually let me borrow it. I'm not going to have mine painted in time because I'm still building them. Building an army takes a while. So, yeah. Been playing a lot of T-Suns practice games, and they are still ridiculous. I've been trying out that Winged Demon Prince with Lord of Forbidden Lore, who's very fun. I also playing some Votann on the side. Lucas and I played a game of Votann versus Bully Boys. That was very exciting. So, yeah, looking forward to kind of just all my armies feel pretty viable, and excited to work with you on some like Hypercrypt variations because you've been playing that a lot more than I have recently. So I'd love to hear, all your thoughts and opinions on that.
Yeah, they're a real good time. I'm unfortunately probably not going to be able to touch Necrons for a minute here because I'm playing GSC with Guard at DreamHack and like haven't touched GSC since Vegas. I played a game with them yesterday into Max's Blood Angels. GSC still hits so hard, man. That army is so much fun. So we'll see what's going on with that. Try to get some stuff figured out. But yeah. We've got Gongai, we've got the beach, we've got DreamHack, we've just got a whole bunch of Warhammer going on. Looking forward to talking with y'all about it as it goes down. Next week, I don't think I'll be on, but maybe there's something that Lucas and Nick want to talk about. Maybe some reflections on the Orc book, having played a little bit. Maybe something silly. I don't know what you guys are feeling, but we'll figure something out coming soon. But yeah, sweet. Any other thoughts before we sign off for the week?
No, I think that's it, man.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. As always, I've been Tyler.
I've been Nick.
And Lucas is not with us this week, but we will see y'all in the world of Warhammer. We're looking forward to it. Hope y'all are having a great weekend today. Enjoy the surprise episode. We will catch you next time.